Log 7th. Orders from above, Dr. Rafiq Malik's Field Journal. Entry 007, the directive. We received the order this morning. A formal message, stamped and signed by an unnamed official in a faceless department. The 3 government assistants stood behind me as I opened the digital packet. No explanation. Just, proceed with examination and opening of undamaged containment units. Full documentation required. Prioritize heat sources. Immediate response expected. They didn't ask us to. They told us. The coffin-like containers. We've counted 18 intact, 4 cracked, and 1 broken open entirely. Though it was empty inside. We were already speculating whether they served as sarcophagi, stasis chambers, or containment units for something else entirely. But now, we're moving from theory to action, and no one is ready. The warmth. We've known from the beginning that these structures emit heat, not ambient warmth, but core heat, like a body or an active energy source. The internal temperatures have remained steady at 37 degree Celsius, 98.6 degree Celsius, human body temperature. But there are no control panels, no visible power sources, no interfaces to speak of. It's like they're alive, or perhaps preserved. Dr. Kira Montgomery seems oddly calm about it all. Disturbingly so. She keeps muttering phrases like confirmation protocol, finally a match, and initial stage successful. When I asked her what she meant, she deflected, but not before I caught a flicker of excitement in her eyes. She knows more than she's saying. Opening procedure. We prepped one of the chambers for controlled opening. It took hours just to clear the surrounding rock without damaging the container. There were no hinges or seams, just a stone-like shell, with veined patterns that glow faintly under UV light. We had to cut through the material, a process that felt both wrong and irreversible. As soon as the seal broke, a faint hiss escaped, like the release of compressed air, or breath. The inside was lined with an almost metallic foam, hardened by age but visibly molded to the shape of a person. Contents of the first chamber found a humanoid figure inside. Perfectly preserved, male presenting, skin smooth and grayish gold, slightly iridescent under the lights. No visible signs of decay. Eyes closed. Clothed in an unfamiliar fiber, tightly woven and symmetrically wrapped around the body, his hands were clasped over a smooth black object, like a tablet or slate. As we moved closer, the warmth intensified. No one touched the figure directly. The team insisted on isolating the chamber and scanning from a distance, but all initial. Readings were inconsistent, almost as if the sensors couldn't decide if he was alive or dead. One scan picked up a faint pulse, then nothing. Another read activity in the prefrontal cortex. And then, silence. We're left with more questions than answers. Dr. Montgomery's reaction. When she saw him, she whispered, "We found them." She didn't mean it in a scientific sense. She said it like someone who had been waiting for this, like a prophecy fulfilled. Agent Slater has since locked the chamber down and told us the next container will be opened tomorrow under full observation. Only authorized personnel, which no longer seems to include half my own team, will be allowed near it. They're closing us out, piece by piece. Personal reflections. I can't explain it, but I swear when I stood near that chamber, I heard something, not out loud, in my head, a faint voice, a word I couldn't understand, a feeling I couldn't shake, like waking up a sleeping god. We have 17 more to go, and I'm no longer sure we should open any of them. Log 8. The Agreement, Dr. Rafiq Malik's Field Journal. Entry 008, The Silence Before the Storm. This morning, we were gathered before dawn. No coffee, no briefing. Just a cold assembly in the excavation hub, fluorescent lights flickering overhead and the unmistakable scent of sterilized control. Agent Slater stood in the front, flanked by two newcomers. Both wore matte black uniforms. No insignia, no names, no warmth. One held a sealed folder. The other watched us like we were criminals. No greeting. Just an order. Each of you will read, sign, and comply. Failure to do so will result in immediate removal from site operations. That is all. The document. They handed us all identical black folders labeled only with our names. Inside, a non-disclosure agreement unlike anything I've ever seen. It didn't just bar us from speaking about the project to outsiders. It redefined what an outsider was. Family, friends, future colleagues, ourselves 5 years from now. All off limits. But the language was chilling. Unauthorized recollection of events is considered a breach. Violation may result in detainment. Reintegration or relocation may be deemed necessary. In the event of cognitive dissonance, psychological, conditioning will be made available. There was no indication of what reintegration meant, or relocation, or why we'd need conditioning. When I looked up from the page, 3 others were already signing. Not because they wanted to, because they were being watched. The cost of refusal. Dr. Jing refused. He said, "I'm a climate scientist, not a soldier," and pushed the folder back. Across the table, they took him. No raised voices, no struggle. Just a nod from Slater, and the 2 unnamed agents escorted him out. We haven't seen or heard from him since. The message was clear. New arrivals. Since midday, transports have been arriving. Not the kind that bring scientists. These are reinforced vehicles, loaded with personnel who don't speak to us, don't eat with us, don't belong here. They move in formation. They carry weapons. And they've already taken over the equipment bays and 2 of our labs. I asked Dr. Montgomery who they were. She just said, "They're the kind of people who don't ask questions and don't like people who do." The energy shift. Since the opening of the first containment unit, the air feels different, electrified, charged with something just outside human understanding. The humming in the walls has grown louder, and several team members report vivid dreams. One described a golden city under black skies, another, giant figures, watching through time. We've stopped sharing dreams aloud. It's too unnerving to realize how similar they are. Personal note. I signed the document. I hate myself for it. But I couldn't let them erase me like they did Dr. Jing. I couldn't leave behind what we've uncovered. I need to see it through. Not for them, but for the truth. Even if it breaks me. Log 9. The Unpacking Dr. Rafiq Malik's Field Journal. Entry 009. The second wave, with the initial excitement and fear of the occupied containment units still lingering, we moved to the second set. These weren't prioritized before. They weren't warm, didn't hum, and had signs of external damage. But orders are orders. Slater's advisors supervised everything, like hawks over a battlefield. No one speaks freely around them anymore. First, storage. The first 5 containers opened today were empty of life, but not of meaning. They held what could only be described as personal storage. Inside, we found carefully folded garments made of unfamiliar fabric that shifted color depending on the light, sketchbooks, tools and instruments that resembled modern ones, but used no visible power source. Containers of a grainy, dried substance sealed airtight, possibly food at one time, though it's now fossilized beyond testing. Books written in the same script. As the scrolls, preserved in what appeared to be crystal cases. Dr. Castillo said it felt like opening someone's closet mid-evacuation. The emotional weight was unexpected. Second, a child's room. One of the pods contained toys. They were elegantly carved, some mechanical in ways we couldn't replicate even with our tech. There was bedding, a miniature trunk of clothing, and a broken light source embedded in the ceiling. One doll's face had decayed, revealing a framework beneath that wasn't wood or metal, something synthetic, almost organic. Someone whispered, "They didn't just build this place. They lived here." Third, something rotten. 2 of the last containers we opened held decomposed material. The lab team believes it was food, possibly fruits, grains, or meals stored for long-term survival. Whatever preservation method they used failed on these units. The air that escaped when we unsealed them was vile, acidic. It made 3 of us vomit on the spot. They sealed the lab and declared it biohazardous. We're wearing level 4 hazmat suits to process the contents. Hazmat. For food. Protocol. Containment. And Categorization Slater's new directives arrived this morning. All recovered items are to be logged, cataloged, and subjected to durability, chemical, and origin testing. Objects with anomalous signatures must be flagged and quarantined. No personal photographs or notes unless authorized. It feels less like archaeology now, and more like we're reverse engineering a civilization. We're not even pretending to ask why anymore. Just how. And one more thing. Dr. Eleni spotted something odd on one of the crystal bookcases. An engraved symbol we hadn't seen before. A perfect sphere encircled by 7 tiny stars. When I touched it, it pulsed. Just once. We haven't told Slater yet.